That's right. Welcome to another edition of the East Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com. We're breaking down the top stories from Districts 5 and 6 of East Idaho High School athletics. My name is Joel Richardson. This show is brought to you by Ideal, a tax advantage state-sponsored savings plan that helps families pay for the cost of college. With the rising cost of college, developing a savings plan is the first and most important step in helping families finance a college education. An Ideal 529 account can be used towards higher education, a trade school, apprenticeship, or even those darn student loan repayments. For more information, go to idsavings.org. Let's bring in my co-host and Vegas's own, the field goal blocker himself, field goal kick blocker himself, Sean Kane. Sean, what's happening?
Hey, I just flew in for the show.
Appreciate your dedication to the show, man.
It's an important, part of my week. Yeah, just back from Vegas. Kind of an incredible week of NFL action, but whatever. Who cares about that? Let's dive into East Idaho action because that's what's important here, man.
Yeah, for sure, dude. But we do need to know. People need to know, why were you in Vegas, and what does that have to do with the NFL? Let's hear it.
Oh yeah, me and some friends attended the Bears-Raiders game yesterday at Allegiant Stadium, which is pretty sweet. I don't know if you've been there yet, Joel.
I've been by it a lot, never been inside.
It's it was my first time there, and yeah, it was a game where the Bears had 4 turnovers and like 6 points, but it came away with a blocked field goal to win it. And typically the Bears have lost those games, so it was nice to see Chicago come out on the winning end Sunday, or it would have made today kind of bad for me. I think I would have been, but it was fun. A fun experience. I think there's probably more Bears fans there than Raiders.
Cool.
It was crazy. So I know people have went down. They watched the ISU UNLV game earlier. People have really enjoyed the Allegiant Stadium. It's pretty sweet. But man, there's just, there's no like parking or anything. You're walking from somewhere or taking a taxi. But besides that, just normal Vegas. Everything's expensive.
Yeah. Good food.
Good food. Cheap prime rib. Had some cheap prime rib, and then by the end of it, you're ready to go home. So I'm glad to be home and excited to kind of have a short week. It kind of leads itself to a short week. You can't, you have to prep a little harder. Like if you have the Thursday game on the NFL, I'll be in the same boat. I'll just be like everyone else, got a short week, but we'll make a good turnaround. We'll get there. We've got the guys, doing what they need to do.
Love it, dude. Well, it's good to have you back. Glad you're safe and sound. And let's get right into it. We're going to talk girls volleyball. We'll do some golf, Sean. We're finally going to do some golf. I think we've done it once before. Yeah. We have someone specific we got to talk about as he is a senior. And then we'll hit some football, biggest stories in football coming out of last weekend, and then where we're going to be, and we'll get out of here. So let's do girls volleyball. We kind of touched on this last week, but I felt like we had to do it this week again, only because we knew it was a big game going into after last week's show. It was Rockland, Leadore, Rockland, Mackey. Let's get their standings up right here. And Sean, what sticks out to you first, based on what we talked about last week in this graphic?
Well, I think it's pretty blatantly obvious. Leadore being number 1, beating Rockland last Thursday 3-2. But then losing 0-3 to Mackey Friday. But with all that being said, I mean, Leadore number 1, I think we had a good feel about, Rockland and Chalice and even a Mackey team at 4-2. That's, they're 8-2 overall. So
right.
You've got some teams there, and then you've got Grace Lutheran, right? 6-4. 7-7, but they're always kind of lurking in there too. But congrats to Susan Whittaker and Leadore right now. I mean, they're first, but as we know in this mountain conference, in this Rocky Mountain Conference, everything's up for grabs when it comes to tournament time. But getting that higher seed, I think will be great. I think Leadore is going to want to be on the other side of Rockland.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, right now they're first in conference, 13-3, as you see there on your screen, 7-0 in conference play. They lost to Mackey, but because the conference is so big, when they play each other twice, one of those games doesn't count as a conference game, right? And so that 0-3 loss to Mackey after the big win against Rockland last Thursday, Friday they turn around and lose to Mackey 0-3, doesn't count against conference play. So no big injury there to their record. But then coming up, you got two big games, one more against Mackey, so this one will count, and then Chalice. That's going to be next Saturday. And Sean, that's going to determine, I think, the top 4 or 5 seeds going into district tournament play, which is in just a few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be here before you know it. So all I think really is you're getting to the end of the season. Every game's important,
right?
Especially in this large conference. And how you pointed out, not every conference game counts towards conference. So when those games come up, so important to play your best, because you're more than likely you're going to be playing this team again. Either in a loser out, or maybe getting that other spot. I mean, there's the good thing of big conference, you get the bids, 2.5 bids, and then it auto seeds right with max preps later. So even if you have a you have something happen, you still have a chance again, which I love. I love the ability to give East Idaho the most opportunity as possible to fill that bracket. But I do like that we have that ability. But if you're any of these teams, you want to be the one. You just want to win all the games, be done. You don't want to be having to fight in that 0.5 spot wherever it may land later on down the road.
Yeah, for sure. And Rocky Mountain, like Sean's saying, gets 2.5 bids going into state. So that half bid, I can't remember who they play exactly, but the playing game is actually going to be at Pokey High School. So, here in East Idaho, of course, if you're Mackey, Leadore, a little bit further still to go down to Pokey. Hey, right now, Sean, Leadore is doing really well. We've talked about them a lot already, but got to shout out Susan Whitaker. You mentioned her earlier. 25 plus years of head coach experience at Leadore. I was going through the Idaho sports, year after year, and looking at the head coach, and she is as far as Idaho sports goes, I think down to 09, 010. So that's why I say, over 25 plus years of head coach experience, as far as I could tell. Really, really impressive. Sean, what does that do to a team like Leadore, where you're getting, 8 or 9, maybe 10 girls a year, but that kind of consistency, what does that do for a team as for a school as small as Leadore?
Well, I know you like my analogies, Joel, so I'm
ready for it.
Why does everyone go to McDonald's? I mean, it's there
because they're loving it.
It's been there for how many years? They know what it's about. You're gonna get the quality. It's not going to be any different, and that's kind of is when you have in coaching. If you have that stability, which we don't see anymore, that's not the norm. The norm was 20-year plus coaches. I don't think that's the norm anymore. We talked about that on some other shows. I just don't see that being the norm anymore. So when you do have that 20 plus 25 your coach, you know what you're getting. You're getting someone who knows what they're doing, how to get the most out of a small amount of players, right? If you're a coach somewhere else and go to a Leadore, it's a whole different ball game. You've got what you got. It's not like, we're finding Lisa, she was a really good soccer player and she wanted to try out for ball. Like, you're not getting that,
right? So
I think that having that stability, you're just that's what you get. You're gonna have consistency and quality, and that's what she's done for Leadore. And it's hard. It's a big conference, and there's teams that are usually at the top, but does it matter, right? Grace Lutheran wasn't at the top last year, wins it all. So if you play well in this conference and make it to state, your ability to do something, bring home a trophy, you can.
Yeah, amen, dude. Hey, and she's doing great, man. Only losses are to Cary, North Fremont, and Mackey. Already mentioned that. She's got a good mix of seniors, sophomores, freshmen. Interestingly enough, she only has one junior, but again, that might be because there's just not a lot of girls, right, at the school, not a lot of kids in general. So interesting, only one junior, but a good mix of seniors, sophomore, freshmen. Right now, Sean, you mentioned the max preps. They're number 5 in max preps. And so very interesting, this Leadore team beating Rockland, and suddenly they're in the driver's seat. We'll show you one more time those standings if you're just joining us. Leadore number 1 right now at 7-0. They lost to Mackey, but that game did not count against conference play. But they play, once again, Mackey and Chalice this coming Saturday, and that'll determine big time your top 4 seeds. But yeah, we'll see what happens, and we'll be watching it the rest of the way. So that's Leadore. Congrats to Leadore Mustangs. They're doing a great job so far behind big time veteran head coach Susan Whitaker. Let's finish up with girls volleyball. Shot big tournament coming up this weekend. The Rocky Mountain the Rocky Mountain tournament, right out there in Rocky Mountain High School. Tons of teams from East Idaho going out there. What does this kind of tournament do for teams late in the season when you're meeting up with a bunch of teams that aren't in your conference?
Well, I think it's a must, right? For a 6A team in East Idaho, we've always have good players finishing in the top. But as a team, I think this is where your team needs that experience to play against another let's say an SIC opponent where a lot of these golf team championships come out of the last few years. You're going to get that experience. You're going to get that kind of clash and what that takes over a course of a couple days and rounds. And that's what you need. You need that to see where you're at. And great lead in, right? And there's a team out there right now, I think in East Idaho, that's looking not only individually, but also as a team has won more than one tournament. They've pretty much won most tournaments they've entered in the East Idaho region. And that's the Thunder Ridge Titans, Joel.
Yeah, man. So let's talk about Thunder Ridge boys golf, and good luck to those volleyball teams out there going to that Rocky Mountain tournament. And let's do Thunder Ridge boys golf. They have a massive player on their team. He defeated I think it was a senior last year. He was a junior who was playing against a senior it was kind of like his Achilles heel, Sean. But he finally got him. This is Justin Anderson, won 6A boys golf tournament last year. And
at Highland.
That's right. And he's this week, actually tomorrow, we got the Gate City Invitational. So great that we're talking about this tonight. Really interesting to see how he does tomorrow in preparation for the district championship. We're here. Golf is the first ones to go to, the postseason at Jefferson Hills this Thursday is the district championship. If you're Justin Anderson, last year, I think you won by 6 strokes. I think it was.
He had to hit the one at the end. We had the video.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
We had the video from Travis Hops, and he had to hit I can't remember the exact score, and not that I would probably say it right anyways,
right?
Being golf, but he hit the putt to win it. He might have won by a few, but he still hit that putt, and they had it on video, and it was Highland, and everyone shot really high that weekend. It was playing a little fast.
Yeah. So if you're Justin Anderson, you've won the whole thing before. What is this invitation, this Gate City Invitational, and then preparing for what does that do for someone like him? He's played there a lot. Does he get too much in his head, or is it business as usual?
For this year, Joel, I think it's business as usual.
Yeah.
They had about 6 days ago the Fall Classic. Thunder Ridge won the team title, and Justin shot 65. He's been in the 60s and the low 70s all year. I think you just keep playing. You just keep playing the way you're playing. You don't need to make big adjustments. We're not changing the swing. We're not Happy Gilmore at this point. I think you just keep playing the way you're playing, and his team's responding. Thunder Ridge wins the team title. They shot 278 at that Falls Classic. I mean, you keep playing the way you're playing, and now the team, and you see this. You get a great player, whatever sport it is. You get that great player. You start playing better. It's a competition with itself, and now you can do bigger things. So we've got the guy. We've got to help him get all of it right. We want the individual. We want the state. It's a team. It's a cool sport where you can win individually, but I know most of these guys, players, coaches love getting that team title, even if they're individual wins. They'd still love to be, the picture with the banner and all that.
Yeah. And last year, Thunder Ridge boys, they didn't place at state, but of course, Justin was out there and he won the whole thing. So hopefully this year, a few more guys can get to state, and as a team, they can take home that blue trophy, dude. Would be amazing. State's actually going to be at Red Hawk Golf Course in Nampa out there in Boise, and that's next Thursday, Friday. Again, golf, the first ones to hit the postseason. Really looking forward to that. We'll be keeping you posted next week on how things shake out in that district championship at Jefferson Hills up there in Jefferson County next Thursday. I want to remind everyone, make sure you like and subscribing to this show, to this Prepcast, so you know when we drop it each and every week. We're usually on Monday nights at 8:30, but sometimes we might change. So, hey, hit that like and subscribe. Get this Prepcast out to friends and family. And especially when we're talking about the Leadores and the Thunder Ridges, let them know. Let them know that we're talking about them, so they can watch and enjoy it as well. We're not doing it for ourselves, right? I mean, it's fun to listen to us talk sometimes, but it gets boring. We're doing this for the kids, right? Trying to highlight the kids and all the success that they are bringing, and all the lessons they're learning along the way, which is the most important part of sports. It's fun. It's exciting. It's a way to release ourselves from reality for a little bit, but in the end, hopefully we're learning some lessons along the way. So hit the like and subscribe button, and please get this out to all your friends, family, and especially those we talk about week in and week out. Sean, we had some great football stories after Friday night. We had Shelley putting up a fight against Hillcrest. We had Westside 20-8 over Declo. Declo got started slow. Ryra in the new conference, and then Highland over Pokey in the Black and Blue Bowl. What do you want to take? What's your biggest story coming out of last weekend?
Oh man, out of last weekend. I'll go. I'll go.
Or one from that list.
Man, what I had a couple things in my mind, and now you've thrown me off. But no, I think what we've got to look at is this Westside Declo matchup. I think that's a matchup we could see again later in the postseason. I feel like it was a game Westside needed to win more than Declo, which is weird to say because Westside just wins all the time. But again, Declo keeps it down to low scoring. It's a Declo team where I think, it's cold or something outside. You don't want to play them. More than likely these games, if we're thinking playoffs, are going to be inside because Declo's got Soda Springs, Malad, and American Falls, and I'm really interested to see that American Falls game at the end of the season. I think that's going to be a very interesting matchup. But say Declo wins out, they didn't win this game, but they're going to be right in the mix. But they're just that team I don't want to see. First round, it's cold outside. It becomes a defensive battle. That's what Declo's done all year. And then for Westside's, Drake Sage 2 TDs. They just do what Westside does, run that wing tee to perfection and get the win. Not flashy like in years past, but that hasn't been the case when they play Declo. Kind of been that team always rearing their ugly head at Westside. But I thought it was a win Westside needed just to kind of keep a little bit of an edge in the conference and kind of their like swagger going forward, right? So, and I was going to see in Westside, and again, Westside, they have Aberdeen in the 3 weeks. They have Soda Springs, Snake River. Snake River, I think, will be an interesting matchup too.
Yes.
In the Malad, but conference is really what's going to matter the most here. And that Aberdeen Declo game on the 17th will be one a lot of eyes will be pointed towards.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree with you when you said Westside needed this win. They lost to South Fremont after thumping Fur 30-0. They lost to South Fremont. It was only by 4. But, Sean, that surprised a lot of people because the week before that, South Fremont had lost to North Fremont 40-6. And I don't think we knew what North Fremont was. So when Westside loses to South Fremont by 4 and Westside doesn't lose, it kind of threw everyone off and it kind of cooled us on Westside. Well, okay, maybe maybe there's something going on there. I had seen them play against Firth, and they played great, honestly. For the first game, it was awesome. But they lose to South Fremont, who just, they're not that strong this year, which is fine. So it was kind of weird. And then Marsh Valley loses their varsity team, and that was their next game. So that game is forfeited. So no one has seen Westside play since Firth, and Firth has come out to be, again, not as strong as we expected. So they come up to this Declo team, and Sean, I'm assuming you picked Westside. That was a hard pick for me, dude. I didn't know what Westside could bring. I knew Declo. They had played more games than Westside had by the time that Westside Declo game came around. I think I did choose Westside, although it doesn't show in the standings in the pick'ems because I think I'm top 30 now, Sean, but I was trying to stay in the top 20. It ain't working out for me. But point is, I think a lot of people had a hard time with Westside Declo. But Westside, like you said, they get the win. They needed that win, 20-8. Run game was phenomenal. They controlled the clock. They had 0 penalties, and that's massive. Midway through the season, you're already in postseason form with 0 penalties. Awesome. Got to mention this, though, Sean. So during the JV game, Declo Westside JV, the game was at Westside. A Declo player went down. He was down for a while, 20-plus minutes until the paramedics could come. They got him on the stretcher, put him in the we got him on the paramedics and took him away in the ambulance. I think they were going to Preston, the local hospital in Preston. We haven't heard an update, but I think that shook a lot of players, man. And Declo came out a little bit slow. They got going in the second half. But when you're when you're JV friend, and just because you're playing JV doesn't mean you're not friends with all these guys, especially in 3A, you all know each other, right?
Yeah.
And so when your friend goes down and he's down for 20 minutes, and I know a lot of it is out of precaution, which I'm so grateful for. Absolutely. But still, when you see your teammate go down, it shakes you, and you're supposed to go on and hit someone and make a play, make a tackle. I've never played football, right? The closest I played was flag. But I can't imagine going out and going hard, first play of the game. I think you're going to be a little bit rattled. So I'm not surprised that Declo started a little bit slow, but they got going in the second half. They played a lot better in that second half, but still, score was 20-8. Anyway, our thoughts are with the Declo player. Hopefully he's okay. If anyone has an update, we'd love to hear about it. But I think that affected Declo, Sean, in that first half.
Yeah, I mean, that can go both ways. It could affect, it could have affected Westside too, right? There's
Sure.
there's a lot of different ways it can go. I mean, the most important thing is hopefully the young man's fine and going to be okay. But that's where you have to come together as a team, and these are things you can talk about with the coaches and things, because football injury is inevitable. All right, it's going to happen.
Right.
I think. And when it does like that, it can be very shocking. And hopefully, as coaches and parents and family, we can, they're going to have, good, open dialogue about what happens and how to feel about it and things like that. So, just so you keep moving forward in the best way you can. But it's difficult. And, Declo, and again, like a Declo and a Westside, they don't have this vast number of extra players, right? He could be a JV player that was going to get time or had some quarters left. It's just all those things play an important role in the teams that don't have the vast numbers in their programs.
Yeah, for sure. And hey, had to wear my Westside shirt tonight. Here it is. Yeah, to celebrate Westside's victory over Declo. So thank you again to the Westside Boosters for hooking me up with the shirt a few weeks ago. Try to wear it as much as possible. All right, Sean, one more story. We mentioned Shelley putting up that fight against Hillcrest. Just a little aside, I think Skyline, if they're not careful, they might have some trouble with Shelley. That wing tee that Shelley is now implementing is tough. And had a chance to text with Coach Mossholder after the game, and yeah, he mentioned it took us a while to adjust, but they got it. They adjusted 144-20. But I think we all saw that score. I think it was second quarter score, and it was close. It might have been tied at the time that score came out on the Idaho Sports Friday Night Flash. So something that Skyline wants to watch for after thumping Idaho Falls last week in the Emotion Bowl, a lot to a little. All right, last thing we want to talk about, Sean, is Ryrie and the Nuke Conference. Let's bring up the graphic here. We talked about Ryrie last week, but they're having such a great season. We got to talk about them again, but not just Ryrie, but the Nuke Conference. Look at this. You got Ryrie number 1, 6-0. North Fremont technically number 2, but they're all tied 5-0. West Jefferson 3rd. That's because they haven't played a conference game at 5-0. And look at that schedule right above you, Sean.
Yeah.
Ryrie gets to play West J and North Fremont at home, finishing up with Salmon. Ryrie's in the driver's seat here. The question is, West J and North Fremont, can Ryrie take out both those teams and be crowned the absolute champion of the Nuke Conference?
I mean, we have a lot of friends of the program that are big on Ryrie. Matt Harris.
The Fighting Matt Harrises.
But it's hard for me right now. North Fremont is the team.
They're cruising.
I think North Fremont's the team you have to is maybe the best team in the conference. If we just had to call it right now, if you had to go, Sean, who's the best team in the conference? I'd just go North Fremont because they've just went out and just kind of proven that. But that matchup on October 17th, what a fantastic matchup with Ryrie and North Fremont. But yeah, don't forget West J, right? They haven't lost a game either.
Right.
And I kind of don't know what to think about them. That they beat some teams. I don't know. I don't know where I go when I think about this, but man, all 3 teams deserve a spot maybe in the postseason. I don't know if all of them will make it, but it's going to be a fun end of the season. Fun for some people, maybe disappointing for others.
Yeah, for sure. And just a programming note, we mentioned it last week. North Fremont played Salmon, and North Fremont, I believe, blanked Salmon in that game. And that was kind of the return of Keith Director to North Fremont after taking the job up in Salmon, and his assistant coach, now the head coach at North Fremont, Jason Wright, and he got a chance to show his former head coach, right, what he's done with that program, and pretty impressive stuff from North Fremont. I'm not going to say, Sean, who is better right now, Ryrie or North Fremont, but I cannot wait, dude, for this Ryrie West J team. I think Ryrie's better than West J. I'll come out and say that. But Ryrie North Fremont, I cannot wait for that game at Ryrie. So Ryrie has the home field advantage, if we call it that. And then they finish out with Salmon. Great finish to the Nuke Conference. Nuke Conference, always fun. But, Sean, I feel like the last couple of years has been more a Southeast Idaho Conference, especially since Declo joined. Wendell as well. But Declo joining that west side, Aberdeen, was awesome. Last year, all teams eating each other, essentially. Nuke Conference is a little bit more quiet than SEC last year, but this year, dude, it's all Nuke Conference in terms of storylines, potential, and stress, right? Stressful situations. So can't wait for the finish there, dude.
Yeah, in those 3 teams, Ryrie, North Fremont, and West J, all 3 of them only give up 8 points.
Nice. Something's gonna give, man.
8.4, 8.2. They all pretty much average almost 40 points. West J averaging 41, North Fremont 35, Ryrie 39. Like it couldn't be statistically any closer, and obviously the records are identical going forward, except for West J hasn't played a conference game, but
right,
it doesn't matter until it's those 2, really, unless there's an upset. Yeah.
So looking forward to those games coming up this weekend and the next few weeks. Going to be awesome. Hey, Sean, where are you going to be this Friday?
Well, Joel, I'm going to be at Century versus Teton. It's going to be homecoming at Century, so I'll be broadcasting that game against Teton, which I think will be a phenomenal game. I think it's a good test for Century.
This is the game. This is the one.
I think Teton is it's a division down, but I think Teton is a very good team this year, and they have been. We're not too many years removed from them playing in the state championship against Sugar, their own conference opponent. So you've got a team with some pedigree and some things coming into that. You have Century, who's just flipped it upside down, hasn't lost a game this year, and it should be fun. I'm excited to get out there and see what happens. I've only caught parts of games, so this will be my first full game at Diamondback Stadium.
I cannot wait for this game. I've been cool on Century. I've celebrated with you Century football's rise this year. It's been so fun, and I love a couple players. Volano and Justice Mangum. Love those dudes. Love watching them play. We watched them play for the last few years, but I'm still not sure. I need Century to prove it to me this Friday that they are for real. And I know Teton, like you said, they're 4A. It doesn't matter. Teton's good. They got great players, great coaches. So if Century beats Teton, and there's a couple people I've talked to about this, and they knew who they are, then I'm all in on Century. But I got to see them beat Teton this weekend. And if they don't, Century's still having a great season, and they're probably going to win the conference. We'll see about Century Pocatello, but I'm still calling Century winning the whole thing. But if they're for real, then they win this Friday. Of note, Century is actually ranked in Max Prep's 44, Teton's 32. So again, this is the time. This is the time for Century to step up, upset, so to speak, right? Upset the number 32 Teton per Max Preps as Century's 44. Really looking forward to this one. Sean, you're going to do great in the broadcast. As for me and myself, I'm going to be home watching the game, dude. I'm off this weekend. It's amazing.
Week off. And I will say this. I'll say that for this game, what I'm looking at is Teton played Sandpoint second week of the season.
Right.
And Sandpoint won 42-28. And that game, it was probably a little closer, just kind of towards the end than it needed to be. And Pocatello played Sandpoint at University of Montana, and Sandpoint 56-15 over Pocatello. So this, they have that, Teton's got a little bit of a comparable. I know Century and Pocatello haven't played, but I'm thinking Sandpoint has played better than expected this year. So they're kind of the measuring stick. So I'm, if Century can get a win over Teton, I think that bodes well. Now, yep. Century, Century's ranking 44. They have a really weak schedule,
right?
But their schedule's weak. They, no one's saying like, oh, they should be higher. They know what they have. You get the games that you get, and that's it. You go out and win them, or you don't. Yep. So, a big game coming up. I will say there's one more game I'm very interested in, Joel, that we didn't have on here, but I think we got to talk about it, and that's Highland Rigby.
Yeah.
Highland Rigby this week. Rigby off a bye week after a loss to Bishop Kelly. Highland taking down Pocatello 30-7. It was kind of close at the start, right? That game a little close, and the interception kind of turned things around for Highland, and of course Cedric Mitchell running the ball, and he has all year very well for Highland. So I'm really interested to see, because I was really, really high in Rigby at the start of the year. They kept winning these games. They kept doing these things. Just because they lost to PK didn't diminish my height for Rigby. I just, games like this happen. What you most would consider an upset, right, happens. But I've kind of just not really had a feel for the Highland team.
Yep, it's true.
I haven't. Yep. Usually you've got like, oh yeah, the Highland defense, or the running back, and Mitchell's actually kind of stepped up into more of that spotlight role that I'm noticing. Mm-hmm. But I still just don't have like Highland, so I think this is a huge game. Like I think it's a kind of a win. Rigby needs to get back on the winning side. For whatever team loses, it's going to be an uphill battle, because basically the last, 1,000 years, it's been Rigby Highland, either one or two, and sometimes the two spot, it gets a better draw in that bracket in 6A. But either way, whoever loses this, I see an uphill battle, because I still think Madison is a team that's kind of lurking and can do stuff. And also Thunder Ridge at points has played well. Highland beat them 2 weeks ago pretty easily, but anything can happen. So big game for the 6A conference here in East Idaho.
I think we weren't going to talk about this game because 3 weeks ago we really weren't sure about Highland, because Highland was getting thumped, and Rigby was on this, I don't know, galaxial trajectory, right? Like we were just waiting for the championship between Rigby and Rocky, right? Eagle,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah. But then no, I think you're totally right. Things have gotten a little more interesting. Rigby losing to BK, yeah, they were down players. Then they had a bye week. It's almost like Westside, Sean, and then Highland getting thumped and kind of struggling a little bit against Pocatello. Then they got their feet under them and won that game. But it's an interesting moment now for both teams, and I think you hit the nail on the head. These teams need this win to kind of show everyone, no, we're for real. Rigby getting back to we're for real, and Highland saying, no, actually, yeah, we got beat earlier on, and we've kind of struggled here and there, but we are for real. So, yeah, I love the choice to talk about this game. Very interesting. Looking forward to knowing a little bit more after this one. Of note, one more time, because Max Preps is the way that we rank these for playoff seedings. Rigby is now 1 in 6A, Rocky 2, Eagle 3. Highland is all the way down at number 10. Ahead of them is Meridian, Timberline, Hawaii, and then Madison, Mountain View, Coeur d'Alene, Eagle, Rocky Mountain. So if Highland does a number on Rigby, if Highland gets the upset on Rigby, that's gonna flip a lot of things. Going to make things really interesting, not just in conference play, but for Max Prep. So yeah, great choice on choosing that game.
Yeah, because because of what Highland has left. They have Rigby, Skyline, which is 5A, but a top 5A team, and Madison. Right. So, say Highland wins out the rest of the year. I mean, where do they end up in this? Where do they end up, Max Preps wise? I mean, win the conference, you get an automatic spot, and where everyone else falls. So a lot to play for Highland, who's I feel like quietly, went 5-1.
Yep, 100%.
And they only lost an out-of-state school, right? Sky Ridge, Utah, 6-70. And Nick Strell talked about, that's not what we normally have happen here. That's not the Ram kind of way. And it was probably good. It probably drew him back in, right? We, focus on the defense. And I feel like that's what they've done really well is the defense. 16-0 win over Lake City, Thunder Ridge 38-23, and then 32-7 over Pocatello. So the defense has definitely come back after that big loss to an out-of-state school. But right now, we were talking about this last year. Rigby had only lost to out-of-state schools. Highland is now that team.
Yeah.
As we get to the tail end of the season. So pretty exciting stuff in 6A. Because all they've got left is pretty much conference, and it'll be so. I don't know if there's a bigger 6A game right now than this Rigby Highland, at least for East Idaho, and maybe for the boys area too. It's very important of how all it will pan out.
Yeah, a lot of eyes on this game for sure. Across Idaho, it's going to have a lot of implications after this Friday from 6A all the way down to 8-man football. And if you want 8-man football talk, that's going to be on the 8-man Prepcast in a few days. So check that out, 8-man Prepcast on IdahoSports.com. They do a great job talking 8-man football. Sean, that's going to do it for us here on the East Idaho Prepcast. This show is brought to you by Ideal, a state-sponsored tax advantage savings plan that helps families pay for the cost of college. Go to idsavings.org for more information on how you can save on a number of different ways in post-high school education and opportunities. For Sean Kane, I'm Joel Richardson saying truly be excellent to each other, be kind, be generous, reach out to your neighbors. We got to be a community, right? We keep having these terrible things happen, Sean. And ever since I started broadcasting, I've always loved Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Be excellent to each other, and it holds true. I really mean it every time I sign off. I'm not a great example. I try to be. The other day, someone did some crazy thing in the car, and I was just like, But really, try to be excellent to each other. Be cool. Be kind, and great things will happen. And maybe we can avoid some more of these tragedies that I feel like they keep happening. But good things are to come. Be great. Have a great week. Have a great weekend. Enjoy all the games. And we'll be right back here next Monday night to talk about all of it. For Sean Kane, I'm Joel Richardson. Have a good night, everybody.